everybody. Welcome to Felicitations. This is me, Felicia Day, and this is my podcast. Welcome, welcome. I am so happy to be here. As always, I have a live audience listening to me. If you are a Geex member, you can hang out on the first Tuesday of every month and listen to me live and throw your quips in. Sometimes I pick them up and add them to the podcast. And I do answer questions and all sorts of stuff. It's just nice to have some company because talking to myself is a little weird. This has been a momentous April. I always thought April was kind of a lame month, to be honest with you. It never really had the joie de vivre of May. March was kind of like, it's spring. Other months have better holidays. Although this year, sometimes Easter is in March. This year, April, it was May the 1st, which I never could figure. I know it's kind of a Labor Day, like a labor rights thing, but no maypoles here. Yeah, I don't know. But I have to tell you, April kind of redeemed itself because it kind of opened up my world for COVID, for traveling this year. So I did travel once, I think, earlier for the con in Vegas, but that's about it. And so this month, I traveled twice. But before we get into all that, I would just like to give a shout out to the Discord, discord.gg/Felicia Day. If you would like a wonderful community. No, I don't bring this up for any reason concerning strange things on other social media outlets that you might be about. But there is a wonderful community there. There's little channels where you can talk about anything from board games to my stuff to just general kvetching. So it's a really nice place. And the other thing I want to give a shout out to is Undressing, my other podcast with Tom Lenk. And we are undressing Bridgerton, which is kind of, it's not the best this season, but I'm still watching it for the outfits, to be honest with you. There's a big, big event happening today. And I do want to acknowledge it. Thanks to my mods on, on my Discord. Thank you, Rocket Tip, for reminding me it's the 4th anniversary. I think Cleesmill as well. It is the 4th anniversary of this podcast. It was, I think, 2 days ago or something, but it was within the reasonable celebration limits to celebrate it right now. And I just want to thank all of you who have stuck with it. So the reason why I started this podcast was I went to lunch with a manager and they were like, why aren't you doing a podcast? And I said, well, I don't really know what I want to talk about. They're like, just start one. And so I thought that was terrible advice. But after I had a baby, I was so desperate for human companionship and I really needed to work on some stuff. And I just decided to rent into a mic by myself. I don't think it was really what the ideal entree into the format was. It's never taken off in the way that people have been knocking on my door to sponsor it or like sign me up for a network. But at the end of the day, I really like doing it. I like a solo podcast because I really talk to myself like this all the time out loud. I did it when I was in New York 2 weekends ago. I went there for a kind of a one-day job. It was so fun because I hadn't been to New York in 6 years, since before my baby was born. And every single thing I had favorited on my Google Maps, the restaurants and the shops, little boutiques, they were all gone, which is a little creepy and depressing. And I was like, is it COVID? No. And I was like, no, Felicia, it's life. Human civilization turns over very quickly. And so grab everything while you can because nothing is static, not even you. And with that depressing note, I walked around and I ate a lot of pastries. It was beautiful though, and it was really fun. And I went to, I was in the meatpacking district at this kind of obnoxious hotel called The Standard, which has the most aggravating decor I've ever seen. I felt super old. But then again, even like when I was 20, I wouldn't have liked this kind of like, everything's loud. It's a disco in the elevator. Ugh. It was too much. I need something super hipster. I need like all kind of Danish, Scandinavian simple designs in my hotels. And this was the opposite of that. Also, their oatmeal was kind of lame. So it was fine. It was fine. But I was there for a job and it was fun to work. It was very fun to work. And I can't tell you what I was working on, but I know y'all you will be excited. And so when I can announce it, probably next month sometime, I will be able to share a little bit of it. It was, I am so glad. I don't know what I do, but I like what I do. Before that, I went to Mexico and the problem is I stream too much and I have another podcast and I don't know what I've said to who. So if I repeat myself, y'all, it's not Alzheimer's yet. It's it's just that I have several streams a week and I like to kind of share my stuff with. Anyway, the Mexican trip, the trip to Puerto Vallarta was fine. It was great. I will tell you two things that happened. And I think I mentioned this on the undressing podcast, and I'm not going to go into super detail. I think I dump more personal information there. So if you want to like just listen to the first 20 minutes of that, you'll probably catch up on my life on a more regular basis. But the hotel canceled all my hotel rooms 2 days before, and I had a heart attack and I had to rebook, but it turned out to be fine. We stayed at a beautiful hotel resort called Villa Vallarta, and it was really wonderful. And we ate lots of good food, and the beach was beautiful, and the pool was great, and so I can't complain. I will tell you, if you go to Puerto Vallarta, I talked about this on the other podcast, but once you get out of customs, there is a room with many men in white shirts and black slacks with clipboards, and they are there to scam you out of money. They are the quote unquote timeshare room. And you have to go through this room to get to the exit into the airport. This is before customs. This is before you get into the actual airport. So I don't know why they did this, but all these people will flood you with offers and they'll pretend that they're working for the hotel and they'll hand you from person to person and get you super discombobulated, which I did, and try to sell you 3 massages and a bottle of vodka, which that's what they tried to do with me. And then I walked away at that point. But they will show you like fake badges and be like, I work for the hotel. No, they don't work at the hotel. And I don't understand why you would have that be your first impression of your city is feeling like you were being scammed, because it's a really lovely town. I just don't understand it. So if you ever go, just keep walking, man. Keep walking. So I hope nobody got sent to an invasive exam room. Says one of my chatter. Anyway, so it was a beautiful trip. I really loved it. I would go back in a minute. I would stay downtown because a lot of the resorts, the all-inclusive resorts, are outside the sort of romantic district. And I kind of like the romantic district. It was super cool. It had a lot of drag shows, and the food was just fantastic. And I think there were 10 other restaurants I would have loved to dive into. And it was just really fun. It felt like a party. And yeah, so I highly recommend it, especially if you're on the West Coast. It's either Hawaii to get to a beach with warm water or, Mexico. So I don't know. I've never been to anywhere else in Mexico, and now I really, 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 really want to go back. I was talking to somebody about Mexico City, and if the food tours there in Mexico City are just like off the chain. 4 of the best restaurants in the world are there now. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to venture forth into our nearest neighboring country and learn a little bit more about them, especially since I'm learning Spanish. My daughter's going to Spanish immersion school this summer, and I'm really, really excited about it. And also, just culturally, we stole a ton of land from them. We should know more about them. Yeah, so it all worked out. I do have, let's see. Oh, I have my con schedule for the year, although I don't think I can announce 2 of them. I signed the contracts, but they are not announced yet. But if you'd like to see me in person, I am doing events. The Phoenix Fan Fusion, I am doing at the end of May. So this month, I may see some of you in person. After that, in June, I'm doing All Hell Breaks Loose in Australia. I will be in Sydney and Melbourne. I have not been to Australia except once, and that was 10 years ago before Supernatural. So I'm actually super excited about it. I will be doing Salt Lake City in August. And before that, I will be doing Dublin, which I am so excited. I have a lot of Irish heritage, and so I'm kind of going to get on Ancestry.com and try to see if there's like a gravesite I can visit and be like, hey, I'm part of you. So I'm not sure if I'm going to San Diego or not. They asked me to be an official guest, and I was like, it was really hard for me to turn it down because, of course, I want to go all 4 days because I miss, cons. But at the same time, this year, we're coming out of COVID. I don't have a lot to talk about that's new. And it is the Guild's 15th anniversary. And I know I'm going to figure out some way online that we could celebrate it with you guys. Something that we're on Zoom or we do a live stream or something. I have my head planning. I have my planning hat on for that. But I didn't want to go down there and not have something new to announce with the Guild, which I don't. have something I'm working on immediately about it. I wouldn't wanna make something up. Also, I have so many new projects coming out next year. I cannot wait to talk to you about them. They're things I've worked on for years. My poor mods are like, "Okay, Felicia, we hear you. You're working on that thing that's 400 pages. When is it we're gonna see it?" "We're gonna see it next year, hopefully." So anyway, I just decided San Diego would be better served next year when I can have so many exciting things to talk about that are close to my heart. Um, so that's my con schedule, and there'll be 2 more, and I had to say yes to them because they're my favorite cons, not Dragon Con, but my 2nd and 3rd favorites. And I can't tell you what they are because they're not announced yet. But that's it. I will post when I have them all public. Let's see. What else did I do? Oh. If y'all didn't know, Will Wheaton wrote a book and it is really good. And I hosted a sort of book release event for him. He's a New York Times best-selling author now. He was, I think, number 10 or something on the list, or I don't even know what number he was. He was on the list, and that's all that counts. I'm so happy for him. It is a really cool book because he takes a memoir he wrote in 2004, I believe, um, Just a Geek, and he rewrites it. Well, he doesn't rewrite it, he annotates it, and he from his perspective now. And it's really interesting because he really is honest, incredibly honest about kind of what it in some areas he was not cool. It was not cool. His humor was he's ashamed of his humor. He he says some things that are a little off color and he's like, "Yeah, I own up to it. This is not who I want to be and I was kind of a jerk." And I love having that wisdom and perspective to teach us all that we evolve, we change, just like I said earlier. We are constantly evolving. We're hopefully constantly changing. And if you feel stuck, that means you're kind of fighting against the tide of your own evolution. And so we should be going through different iterations of ourselves. We should be changing our mind about things. We should be broadening our exposure to the world so we can grow. And I really, really appreciated his book. It taught me a lot. It also has a lot of kind of semi triggering stuff about his childhood and how, his parents and he got along. It seems incredibly cathartic for him, and I just want to say that, I just wanna hug him, to be honest with you. I wanted to hug young Will Wheaton. He has come so far, and I'm just really, really happy for him, and I'm happy for him for this book, so if you're interested he does not actually talk about any of the stuff that we've done before together, which is weird. He brought it up. He was like, "I didn't talk about the guild or Geek Sundry or Tabletop." He did, mention that tabletop was really close to his heart, but we just can't do more. It's just a legal thing. It's a lot. He loves tabletop. He would love to do something there, but it's just kind of impossible. The rights and everything are gone. And, it's weird because after doing that interview with him and then doing we last weekend or a couple weekends ago, the guild got together and we did sort of a reunion dinner. All of our families got together at Amy Okuda's house and everybody cooked. Well, I didn't cook. I just went out and bought donuts and cupcakes and mochi, and it was really, really good. And it was so cool to see everyone back together, but at the same time, it felt like, "Oh, yeah, this is a long time ago." And it's funny how sometimes in our minds, something that's super significant can seem like it's yesterday. Time, memory just kind of tricks you in a way. And especially when you have successes or failures, you base your kind of whole self-worth on those successes or failures. And it's a little depressing, but also kind of what you need when you get a different perspective on those events and you're just like, I'm a different person now. I've grown. This is a long time ago. And I've been feeling that sort of shedding a skin lately where I'm embarking on new projects now. I feel genuinely like I'm putting myself into them and hopefully when they're out next year, people see that I am an artist. I'm a creator. I have things, maybe they're not going to be on the grand scale of what I did before, but I put myself into my art in a way that I feel pretty proud and I've moved on um and it feels good. But it comes with a tinge of sadness and kind of, moving on from something that really meant a lot. It'll always, the guild and Geek and Sundry and tabletop, it'll always live in my heart, but it's not my identity anymore. And I think that it was like a 6-year process for me to unhook who I was with those achievements. And I'm hoping that now my self-worth is more tied with who I am as a person. I'm Felicia, and I have a daughter named Calliope, and I really like baking, and I love streaming, and I do a bunch of different kinds of projects, and sometimes I host and, do all the I do other things, but that's not me. My work is not me. And I feel very, very good about that identity, um, realignment, because I think that it was a really unhealthy thing to base my whole self-worth on people liking what I was doing. And that was kind of what I was either trained or sort of, genetically programmed to do. And, that workaholicism, that sort of like desperation to make things and have them be approved of because that was who I was. I feel like I'm not saying I'm completely over it or unhooked from that, but I am more functional ish. Big news on the new stuff front is MST3K. The new season releases to the general public on May 6th, and they are releasing it in a really, really cool way. It's on the Gizmoplex, gizmoplex.com. So, with the Kickstarter, generous Kickstarter that fans supported, they built out a website where you can enjoy all the back catalog and the new episodes. There's chatting, there's forums. I was super dubious about how this would work. I want to be honest with you. I was like, what? This is a terrible idea. But it is a really cool way to keep the fans engaged. Every 2 weeks, a new episode is going to release. There's live chat, so the fans can interact while you're watching together. They're going to be doing live streams and shorts and all sorts of stuff. It's just really wonderful. And I have to say, Joel has been doing this for 30 years. What an amazing person to reinvent the wheel so many times, but in the spirit of the original show. Like, if I could do that with a guild, I would go back. I just don't know what to do. I don't have it in me right now. When I have a story, I will go back to it, but I don't have a story right now. But Joel just seems to always, and I wanted to be honest with you, I think this season is better than the last two. And why? Because they didn't have the budget. They didn't have the budget they did on the other two. It was too glossy and too big, and it wasn't really MST3K. Jonah and I did a bunch of interviews together, and when he mentioned that, I was like, you're right, Jonah. This is more MST3K. It was community broadcasting that started this, and it had sort of an off-the-cuff, sort of let's do whatever the heck we want, and a low-budget feel that really was the charm of it. And I think making it glossy was not necessarily the best thing for the show. And I think now we've gone back to, even with COVID, it was even a smaller crew. It was basically as big as the guild crew, maybe even smaller, actually. And so it felt so spontaneous. Jonah Ray was he was actually one of the head, he led one of the writing rooms. There were 2 writing rooms. Him and Tim Ryder kind of split the writing room process, and then they also split directing. So they were both wonderful to work with. I love working with Jonah. And when something didn't work, or he was like, I think we could be really do something funnier here. We would just kind of workshop it and then do it. We didn't have to ask 5 executives. We didn't have producers on set kind of like keeping us to talking point. It was just really fun and spontaneous, and I loved it. So there are also 3 hosts. There's Joel comes back, Jonah, and then Emily, the first female host, and she's really, really funny. If you ever go to the live tour, she's the one on live tour. So integrating the live tour and the regular tour, the regular show together is so clever. Again, and then I get to work with Mary Jo Pell. I'm going to mess her name up. I just got anxious while I was saying her word that I was going to. While I was saying her name, I was anxious. I was getting it wrong as it was coming out of my mouth, so it went Pell, Mary Jo Pell. Yeah, Pearl, basically, my grandma. And we have some really funny scenes together. I also sing the new theme song, which I didn't even know until I got to set I was doing that, and I seized up. I was so nervous. I wasn't nervous until that. I was like, I mean, that's like singing the national anthem if you're a nerd, right? I did it, and I'm pretty proud of it, and I think it's pretty good. So anyway, if you guys want to check out the new episodes, they are 13 of them, I believe, or 12. They're releasing every other week. There's shorts, there's live stuff. Go to gizmoplex.com. Check it out. It's really fun. So, yeah. What else do I have to talk about? I mean, I updated this feed. We went out of beta. And I've uploaded the Geeks book club and all that stuff. Doing interviews. I'm interviewing Jeff Lemire, I believe, this week. So I'm trying to do one interview a month. And I'm not trying to chase ear holes. I'm just interviewing people I think are interesting. And so I'm kind of excited about that. And oh, yeah. I went I told a whole story on undressing about my orthodontist. I don't need to talk about that. I did go to a psychiatrist. I know that you guys I have been keeping you too apprised of my mental health, but I did go off my Lexapro a couple months ago. I was feeling not great, not having it, and I was like, "Oh, I'm comparing myself to when I was on it, and I'm thinking that I was happier then." So I went to a psychiatrist, and she told me that she suspects I have PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It is kind of like extreme PMS. So basically, after I had a baby, my hormones went pretty wild. And now I'm super, 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 super sensitive to any fluctuations in my hormones. And so basically, that can cause insomnia, depression, emotional instability, all the things that I have struggled with the last couple years. They've been it's and I charted it and she's like, "Oh, this chart tells me exactly what's wrong with you." Now, of course, I had anxiety before that, but like, you know, now that I'm aware of how anxious I was before, I actually kind of worked on that and I'm less anxious as a baseline, but I can't help the fluctuation in my mood during the month, and she basically told me that's what I have. So, I started a new drug. I know. I have a everybody in chat is saying it's a valid diagnosis. I really appreciate all that. So, but it's such a relief to be able to have something to be like, "Oh, yeah, you were not, noticing a pattern for nothing." And it makes no it really just having the diagnosis is so relieving. So, I'm starting a new, it's not an SSRI, it's something else. It's not Effexor, it's something else. Starts with a P. But anyway, so I just started that a week ago. It's probably gonna take bunches of, several weeks to kick in. But I'm trying something new because I had a glimpse of what functional life could be, and I'm going to cling to it. And the sad thing is that before that, I wasn't aware enough of how dysfunctional my daily life was that I could say, "Hey, I need help." And so I just wanna encourage you guys, if there are things that you see that are a problem, or I don't even know, like, the awareness really is the key. You don't know to know. You don't know to ask help, and that's where you really mess it that's what kept me back for, like, 10 years probably. So, yes, yes. So, basically, the medication I'm on, which is an SSRI, but it's a something else. It's not Paxil, I can't remember the name, guys. It starts with a P. I'll remember it. It's essentially like Effexor. So, it's not Prozac. Pristiq, that's it. Pristiq. So that is it. And so it's a different kind. It's not like a Prozac or a Lexapro or all that stuff. So because I have one of the side effects I have with them is super vivid dreams that make me exhausted when I wake up. And so this is supposed to sort of give me the benefits of what I was benefiting from on the Lexapro, but not I'm not a doctor. Please don't take anything. I'm just sharing my experience. And especially if you were a woman and you notice that you just feel like you're changing your mind all the time and you feel very angry or very depressed and it changes on a dime and you're having insomnia and your anxiety just kind of peaks and that is go and see somebody and talk to them about it. Um, I'm not a doctor. I am not a doctor. I'm raising awareness that there are things that people can be affected by that you can get help for. And so I'm pretty excited. All right. That's it. If you would like to get subscription updates, text alerts on the new things I do, please text subscribe to 310-510-6191. I semi-regularly update people. I don't know, guys. I'm gonna be better at it. I promise. I need to have a methodology of like 24 hours or 5 hours. I just need to choose one and actually update people. Did I update people about today? No, I didn't. And I apologize. But subscribe and I will do it. Oh, all right. let's get in. Oh yeah, okay. So books that I read. So our Geeks book club for April is Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. And so it looks really, really good. It doesn't look like the typical thing. It's not fantasy or anything, but it looks like a really cool book. Super popular on BookTube. So Bonnie Burton, who chose it, says. And I'm actually pretty excited. This is our book club for May. Sorry. I'm excited to read this book. I also read a bunch of books on Mexico and Aztec religion, which, y'all, that's bloody, but it's fascinating. And I listened to the Fall of Civilizations podcast on the Mayan people or the Aztec. I can't remember. Anyway, the Aztecs. So I would highly recommend if you're interested in any of the history or mythology or any of that. It is a super downer. Okay. I will tell you in the book Signs Preceding the End of the World by Yrui Herrera it's poetry in a book, and it's a beautiful translation of a book about a woman who comes to the US to find her brother. It's a really quick read. It's almost a novella, but it's really beautifully written, and it's very impactful and empathetic and, you know, top it was recommended on a bunch of lists of, like, books to read, about Mexico, because I think this author is one of the most famous authors in Mexico, so definitely, um, wanting to look more into that, and because I was going to Mexico, I love to theme it out. Love a good theme, and, but anyway, the Fallen Civilization podcast is so incredibly depressing because of what the Spaniards did, and it kind of, like it really made me it's not even that long ago, the kind of oppression and abuse and racism, it's like, there's a lot I'm not gonna go into it because I don't like getting super political on this podcast, but it's it's just systemic in our roots, and it's something that has to be confronted and talked about to move forward, and that's what really concerns me you know, that especially this book banning and all this stuff, it's so disheartening to take the tools away from especially children to figure things out on their own. Yeah, it's very concerning. Anyway, especially when I read and listened to this podcast and read about Mexican history and all this stuff, it is really something I don't think that has been contended with at all, and it feels like for our society to move together, forward together, it's really important, and yet it's being kind of like really pushed back against. But when you have a huge backlash against something, maybe there's something there that it's a sign. So we'll see where we go from here. I did watch a lot of TV. The Great Pottery Throwdown this season was c'est magnifique. It's the best season yet. I will not spoil anything, but there is one nerdy contestant, AJ, and they are brilliant. They're a nerd. Like, I think there's like a 10-sided dice in one of their sculptures, and they go to convention. You know that they go to conventions and they love board. I like in love with them, just in love with them. So just brilliant. So, and there's other contestants that are great too. It was literally the best thing I watched in so long. Loved it. I'm watching Bridgerton, as you all know. We're undressing it. The season is really strangely not grabbing me like the last one did, and I'm just like, "Huh, what are you doing?" But, we're hanging in there. We got 3 more episodes to cover. We just released the 5th episode, so we're there. And also, I caught up on The Umbrella Academy. I don't know if y'all are watching that, but the new season, I think, comes out at the end of the month. And so I hadn't watched season 2, and it's really good. It's really quirky, and that's what I like about it. It's like this really it reminds me of the Magicians because it has that same sort of found family who kinda love-hate each other, who'll stab each other in the back, but then if somebody else tries to stab them, they'll stab the other person. And I kinda like that zeitgeist. So, highly recommend, excited for the new season. And yeah, so I think it's gonna be good. Game-wise, I'm still trying to finish God of War, but it is not a burden because the game last stream you can watch all of them on my YouTube channel, and the last stream, there were so many cutscenes that made me gasp out loud. That game is epic. Ugh, so good. So I think we got, like, 2 or 3 more streams before we get to the end. I also, on the complete opposite spectrum, started playing a game called Sunhaven. And if you are a Stardew Valley fan, this is kind of a ripoff of it, but it's magic and it has dragons and sexy cat ladies. So it's kind of the same Stardew formula, but then Adam and Ryko, my friends Adam and Ryko, are addicted to it. And they say there's more towns you can go to. Like it's a big world. And so it's kind of they added a little bit of JRPG to it. I don't know. It's great because anything Stardew is great. So I highly recommend that. If you could play up to 8-player co-op, which is also very cool. So, and then also Core Keeper, I've still been playing it and they have dedicated servers now. So if you wanted to have a server where a bunch of people can log in whenever they want, they have that now. So congrats. Okay, wow, I've been talking a lot. I just want to take a little pause and say shout outs are back. You can get a shout out at rally.io/creator/geeks. That is my social token. It's the Geeks Club. Saying social token makes me feel like a douchebag. It's a club. And I am experimenting with using this cryptocurrency as the basis for it. It is a very low price to entry. If you would like to listen to this live or any of the other live podcasts, the Geeks Club, I read tarot cards once a week or once a month to the chat. And I also have a conversation with my brother that is so NSFW that I cannot release it anywhere. So if you'd like to listen to that live, it's a very, I think it's like maybe $10 at the most, and you get in here. You also support what I do. I'm using that money to pay for editing for a little videos, just some funner videos on my YouTube channel. Hopefully we'll see how it goes. I'm just experimenting. So if you want to do it, if not, it's okay. Don't do it. Random Dude 951 says, just want to say thanks for being you. You are awesome. Smiley face. You are too, Random Dude. And then we have Cleesmill, who is the podcast. Both of my podcasts and sponsors. Thank you, Cleesmill. Happy 4th podcast anniversary. You're firing up our neurons and filling our eyes and ears with wildly amusing listening, communal fun. Can't wait for what the future holds for you. It's King of Forester Day as MST3K's premieres on May 6th. With writing and creativity, I can imagine that seeing your ideas and work come to life has to be thrilling and exhilarating. Less than 3 Cleesmill. It is Cleesmill, and I haven't watched the episodes that I wrote on, but there is one riff that if it doesn't make it in Batwoman, I'm going to be very angry. So I can't wait to watch that episode. All right. Let's get into some questiones. All right. Gustav64, Sir Beardsley on Twitter asks, have you seen my keys? I've been looking all day and I can't seem to find them. I'm 8 hours late for work. Well, this question was submitted on February 1st, 2022. So I'm really sorry, but you're probably dead by now because you never got out of your house to get food. Sorry, Sir Beardsley. Sir Sean Sandalooky Look, one of my mods, compiles all the questions and keeps up the Wikipedia, and I want to thank them for their very hard work in keeping this up. Royola asks from Discord, random question. You've been invited to the Met Gala this year, and in what kind of gown do you envision yourself being coerced into wearing? Please describe it like an undressing podcast. Hints, this year's theme is In America, an anthology of fashion. Basically, the dress code is the grandeur of the Gilded Age, New York from 1870 to 1890. Okay. Thank you, Royola, for asking me a question nobody would ever ask me. And it's very important to me because my dream is to go to the Met Gala, and it probably will never happen. Although my friend Kate McCucci went. She went last night. Or, the night of the Met Gala. She went, and she looked like heaven. It was so beautiful. She wore a purple lavender feather dress, and it was very sort of like, it was very 20s, but also very 1890s. So for me, I love the Gilded Age is kind of what we're living now, where we have incredible wealth disparity, oppression of the working classes, and very rich people spending incredible sums of money on themselves. So I think that that's what we're living right now. And it's a real depressing awareness. And so, but at the same time, we're living a fantasy right now in this question. And I would love to be in an incredibly tight corset with a bustle out the back, like caboose it out. I think that I would envision myself in sort of a spun copper, some kind of spun copper. So it would have to be like super shiny, but then like kind of like a spider web texture, but stiff, sort of like a spider web netting around it to give it a little more modern structure. And then I don't know why nobody really wore a hat, but like to me, the Gilded Age is all about hats. So I would wear the biggest ass hat with tons of like not feathers, but I would love to have like some kind of like either 3D printed, like I would want like a modern twist on the classic. So like, those extravagant feathers that went out of the big, big wide hats. I would want it to be made of like see-through plastic or something like that. I don't know. I think that would be really cool. But with a copper and sort of cream silk theme. All right? Does that make sense? Thank you for asking. Nobody thinks about me with fashion, okay? And I get it. I actually met with a digital manager last month, who made me question myself in every single way, and I was like, "Okay, this isn't gonna work." But they also were like, "Yeah, I could get you some more brand deals and to work with more brands to be able to do more stuff on your socials, but, I think you just need to be really specific about who you wanna work with." And clearly, like, a shampoo product would not probably be the best pairing. And I was like, "Wait, you're what?" And then I looked at my Instagram feed, I'm like, "Oh boy, I don't think I comb my hair when I post." You're probably right. So yeah. But I'm fashiony. No, I'm not. I don't wanna be. It's too much work. All right. Soy asks, Felicia's Instagram post today hint that she will VTube herself in the near future? Now that was a while ago. I just picked this question because I want to VTube myself, but I don't know where to start. I would love to have a VTube version of myself. I would be able to do less work on my hair. I would love that. I think it'd be super fun. So I don't know if you have any links, link me in the Discord so I can look into it. I probably won't get around to it, but it would be on the, "Hey, I have extra time to do something." It would be really cool. I don't know what I would look like because I don't know. Is it weird to be like, look younger than I am? Or is it weird to be a cat woman? I would definitely want cat ears. That would be 100%. I would wanna be some anthropomorphic, um, but near human. Maybe like a penguin. No, that doesn't something furry. Yeah, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Ugh. David McDaniels 831 asks, "How would you describe to someone who isn't familiar with you what creative endeavor had brought you the most joy in the past or current times?" I feel that family parenting is under the broad creative endeavor. Oh, okay. Well, I think the thing that brings me most joy, no, it has to be the Guild. The Guild brought me the most joy because it gave me affirmation that who I am is not alone. Because it came out of a very frustrating, probably 8 years being rejected a lot and not trying to figure out how to be accepted by an industry that just isn't gonna get me that easily. And so when I created my own opportunity by putting my uniqueness into the world, and it was so scary and so frightening, and I didn't believe in myself at all, and thank goodness I had friends there to help me see it through, or I would never have done it. Um, I wouldn't be who I am now, but also I wouldn't be like myself as much. I would have been just continually begging to be approved of, which is kind of what Hollywood is and why I'm reluctant to actually go back to it because I know who I am. I really like who I am, and I know that when I get into the pattern of begging other people to approve of me, I start to lose myself. I'm a little squishy that way. I think anybody would be, but I think I'm extra susceptible to it, and I sort of fall into the people pleasing thing. Like, what's wrong with me that they won't approve of me? Well, maybe it's what's wrong with the opportunities that there's nothing that's going to acknowledge who I am, right? That's more what I would love to focus on. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that's more important than my daughter, who has transformed my life in the most positive, wonderful way. It has been quite a journey, as all of you who have listened for 4 years. If I went back 4 years ago and listened to the ones where I was living through no sleep and incredible exhaustion and anxiety and all that stuff, I probably would feel sorry for myself. I'm sorry. But I was pretty, honest in what I've been going through. And I hope that some of you kind of see yourself in my struggles, especially women who went through what I was, which is like figuring out who I am again after having a baby. So, yeah, thank you, David. Richard Gagnon from Twitter asks, "What's your go-to dinner meal when you don't have time to make one from a recipe?" Mine is penne pasta, a bag of mixed frozen veggies, tuna, and soy sauce. Oh, You put the soy sauce on the pasta? That's interesting. Do you mix it all together? I need more detail. When I don't have time to make one from a recipe, I usually just make some beans in the Instant Pot and some rice. And then I shred some cheese and do some lettuce. And I either have a bean and, a bean and rice bowl, or I make some lentils and have lentils and rice. My daughter does not eat pretty much any meat. She will eat bacon, but even only occasionally. She really is a firm vegetarian. And so I live on beans and rice. Also, it's super easy. You just throw them in there. And I love making my own broth. So it actually classes it up a little bit. As you all know, I love making my own broth. And so that is my go to. I don't really, God, what else would I make? I don't know. That's it. That's it. What else do I make? Wow, I have a terrible, terrible set of you know what I ate tonight? Oatmeal. I love steel cut oats for dinner. They make me feel so good when I go to sleep. I think when I reverse my day, I feel better at night and sleep so much better when I have oatmeal for dinner. So what I should have is steak and potatoes for breakfast and then oatmeal for dinner. I should just flip my day. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I just throw some steel cut oats in there. I put a bunch of granola in there and a bunch of blueberries. I just had it. It was superb. So thank you for asking. Zomino from Discord asks, do you have a routine that helps with voiceover work? Yes, I do, Zomino. Thank you for asking. Um, um, I'm looking something up right now. You can hear me. I'm looking it up so I could tell you where this is. So I found this list of vocal warm-ups. And vocal warm-ups. Yeah, vocal warm up. Here it is. 2 minute. Okay, here it is. I think it's right here. Here it is, right here. You can go to ljlseminars.com/vocal_warm_up.htm. I guess I could put this in my show notes. And actually, you could get it at www.greatvoice.com that he actually took this from. So anyway, it's a list of like 20 or 30 different sentences that you could say to warm up all of the different consonants and vowels. So eat each green pea. It is in Italy. I tried my kite. Oaks grow slowly. So if you warm your voice up with all of these, basically every single sentence warms up a different consonant or vowel. And then I also just warm up before that saying watermelon, 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 watermelon. That's actually Nathan Fillion taught me that. Watermelon, 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 watermelon. And then I do these, and then I sing maybe Frozen, like Let It Go. And then I'm pretty much, that's what I do in the car when I'm going to a voiceover, which I did 2 of them this month, which was really fun. So maimed animals may become mean. Thoughtful thinkers think things through. Oddly, the ominous octopus remained calm. Vivid, livid, vivifying. Vivid experiences can be lived vicariously. So yeah, I really just love these and I print them out. I actually had a copy of this in my wallet at some point before I went to any audition. As far as like the vocal diet, I certainly haven't taken my vocal health that seriously. I have terrible acid reflux. I know I've probably ruined my voice a lot, but at the same time, I know when I don't have acid reflux, I have a much better voice. So I do avoid all caffeine now. I don't have any sugar before bed. I try to avoid any of my trigger foods, which are like peppers and onions and garlic and tomatoes and things like that. And especially if I have a voiceover job, I will eat either oatmeal or just like a chicken and vegetable or salmon and vegetables the night before. So I ensure that I won't eat 4 hours before I go to bed. It's really extreme, but that's what I have to do because my stomach is a mess. So there you go. That's it, Zomino. I hope that at least the vocal warm up helps, and check out vocal coach www.greatvoice.com. I will put that in my show notes. All right, last question. Wow, this hour has flown by. Let's see. Do 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 do. What's our last? Where is it? Where is it? Where is this? Ah, MST3K Temple asks, with convention season starting, if you could pick a panel you would like to be a part of, who would be the other panelists? It could be as few or as many others from a show or project you've been part of, or something completely unrelated to anything you've already done. It could be historical figures, whoever you would like. Now that's really broad, MST3K Temple, because if I could pick like mythology and put Jesus on there, you know what I'm saying? Like that's very broad. Um, I mean, I just mentioned him, but Nathan Fillion is super good on a panel. I love Will Wheaton on a panel. I love being on a panel with him. I love I love my guildies. I love doing a guild panel. They're wonderful. Boy, this is really hard. I mean, the panels I've wanted to go to watch at Comic-Con, I'd never be able to because I'm really busy every time, are the ones with the big authors like Pat Rothfuss and George R.R. Martin and um all of that. The big epic fantasy panels are the ones Joe Abercrombie, like, just that's the one I fangirl out of, and I would love to see them speak. So if I were going to attend a panel, that would be it. If I was gonna be part of a panel, it would be really nice to be part of a panel of women I admire. And even though I'm not in their class, like Rachel Bloom and Issa Rae and women who, like Kristen Wiig, like women who really define themselves with their own work. And made opportunities for them because they honestly weren't being accepted the way they were, and within the place within the industry they wanted, and they proved their worth with their work. They had to do a proof of concept, but they did it, and they succeeded wildly. And, although my success was on a smaller level maybe, I'm just happy tho that's the I guess I guess your ambition should meet the your ambition should be directed toward where you would like your peers to be. And those are the peers that I would love to be in a room with versus like just straight actors who are brilliant, like Amy Adams or whatever, or just straight writers like Lauren Hisrich, who, is a showrunner of Witcher. Like that would be awesome, but I wouldn't want that job. Show running is terrible. It's too stressful. So yeah, or I would love to, my writing really is my priority going forward. I very excited about releasing a graphic novel maybe, and I'm working on a novel now, and I have, 2 other things I've written that I'm really excited to get out into the world, and so the writing of that kind of stuff, especially authors, like I geek out over them, so it'd be really cool to be on a panel with them as an equal, but I have to do the work to get there. So, that was a long-winded thing, but I am long-winded. Yeah, that's it. I got nothing else to talk about. It was a big month. So I want to tell you thank you. Thank you for being here and listening. I hope that the podcast relaunch has not distracted you too much with the different things. You don't have to listen to it if it's in the feed, but hopefully it will introduce some of you to the fun of the Geeks events, and also just having the interviews were really fun. Kat Valenti was amazing to talk to, and Jeff will be amazing, and I will try to nail down another author next month because, yeah, I like to talk to authors. All right. Well, I will see y'all later. Thank you very much. Craig, the recording program who records this, you suck. Bye.